Dear learners, I am Christina Georgy, your academic counselor.
Yes. So in the previous session, we discussed the various models of stress. So in this session, we will focus our attention towards the very many factors that contribute to the stress proneness. So first and foremost, let's discuss this very term stress proneness. So this term stress proneness can be described as a tendency of a person to take more stress. That is, some individuals are more likely than others to experience stress. If there are 5 members in your family, all 5 of them won't be experiencing the same level of stress. May that be the same stimulus for that matter, right? Everybody experiences stress in their own different levels. And it can be said that type A personality is more or less a contributing factor to stress proneness. For that matter, let's have a look at Schaffer's definition of personality. He describes personality as, I quote, a person's enduring set of habits of thinking, feeling, and acting. I unquote. So personality traits can be said to determine not only the way an individual reacts to stress, but also how he or she will cope up with the stressful situation. It is not just how a person reacts to stress that is related to the personality. Personality can also have a say in how this person would deal with the stressful situation. For that matter, we can say that type A personality very often perceives stress as threatening. And as a consequence, the reactions of the type A personality with respect to stressful situations are very much intense and faster. Hence, we can say that type A personality is often linked to high levels of stress. Alright, so what is the case with type B personality? It is more or less the opposite. They display lower stress reactivity. As a consequence, individuals with type A personality are more prone to varied stresses, may that be physical or psychological or physiological problems that may occur as a result of stress experienced by them. Now, let me ask you this question. Which personality type is more likely to experience stress? Is it type A or type B? Which personality type is more prone to stress? A or B? Type A. I suppose that it's clear. Yeah, you need to remember that. Now, some of the components of type A behavior are stated by Schaffer. So these include status insecurity, urgency of time, hyper-aggressiveness, free-floating hostility, drive towards self-destruction, etc. So, individuals with type A behavior may display status insecurity, which is likely to stem from low self-esteem. It can be because they have low self-esteem that they often feel status insecurity. So what happens to such individuals? They will constantly compare themselves with others and they will find themselves to be inferior in their own eyes. They will develop some sort of an inferiority complex. The next factor is urgency of time. So these insecurities and low self-esteem experienced by this type A personality would more or less lead him or her to gasp with time. So what happens is that such people would want to do many things within a certain point of time. They are in constant hurry to get things done, and as a result they think faster, plan faster, carry out activities at a very faster pace. That is about that. Hyper aggressiveness. So these type A personality may also display hyper-aggressiveness, that is dominating behavior without any regard to others' feelings or right. They will be more dominant and aggressive in nature. What do you mean by free-floating hostility? See, these type A personality very often perceives others in a negative light, and as a consequence they will not trust others and they will be very much suspicious of them as well. So this free floating hostility is displayed by these people very often towards co-workers or any other person to whom they are very suspicious about, and this is a wrong attitude actually. There is also drive towards self-destruction. These people, this type A personality, very often seek escapism, and in a way they may drive themselves on the path of self-destruction. Now moving on to the next factor that contributes to stress proneness, that is hostility. So hostility very often denotes the irritability and anger experienced by individuals who are most often perfectly normal. So such a hostility may be experienced in simple events in life, like someone spills tea on the coffee table, a family member does not fold clothes and they are left in the sitting chair, and so on, for which individuals who are not hostile may barely react. So such people react to even the simplest of circumstances in a very negative way. The long-term effect of such hostility is negative, and it not only affects one's health but can also affect one's social relationship. In societal relationship also this plays a negative role. Links have been found between hostility and stress, and therefore we can also consider hostility as a factor that can make individuals more prone to stress. So we had two factors as part of our discussion, type A personality and hostility. Now comes perfectionism. This can simply be defined as expectations that an individual may have from the self and also from others or both. So these expectations are demanding in nature and which seldom leaves chance for compromise. Perfectionism can be categorized into internal perfectionism and external perfectionism. As we can guess, internal perfectionism refers to the expectations from self, that person's own self, whereas external perfectionism refers to expectations from others, may that be anybody around this person. So individuals with internal perfectionism will have high expectations from themselves, and this can not only affect their health but also their productivity. They will spend more time and energy into being a perfect person, and in that course of time they will lose much, including their health. It can hence negatively affect their relationship and self-esteem. So what is the case with those people who have external perfectionism? They will find fault with others and are never satisfied with how others work, and this can lead them to experiencing frustration as well as hostility. Here, external perfectionism refers to their expectations from others. Just keep that in mind. So in your course book, they have given the characteristics of an individual with perfectionism. Thoughts such as anything that I do should be carried out perfectly. No mistake should be made by me or others. There is always a correct way in which things should be done. I am failure if I don't do things perfectly. If I make a mistake, I am a total failure. For such people, there is no gray area. It has to be very much white, perfect for them. So such beliefs can be termed as irrational, as they are loaded with injunctions and they can push an individual on the path of distress. At times they might land in depression also. So the next factor is procrastination. This can simply be defined as not doing things or activities on time and keeping them for later. There is an idiom, sitting on the fence. If you have watched my videos on idiom, you will definitely have an idea. So that can be somewhat related to this one. So this can be because of things or those activities are viewed as not appealing or pleasant or difficult. So this can lead to stress because individuals who procrastinate will not really feel guilty but also indulge in condemnation of self. It either results from fear or it can result from laziness. Just have a reading on that aspect also. Now comes the fifth factor, that is long pessimism. Remember, pessimism is the opposite of optimism. So the helplessness was put forth by Seligman, and it can be described as the tendency to become helpless when frequently faced with events that cannot be controlled. When a person is exposed to uncontrollable happens, at times he will feel helpless. That can be considered as an example of learned helplessness. So Schaeffer defines learned pessimism as the tendency to interpret bad events and personally caused part of a permanent pattern and pervasive into all parts of one's life. Okay, that's a long definition, just keep that in mind. The key points in this definition are put into explanation here. Okay? Just keep that in mind. Now we have moderators of stress, that is locus of control, hardiness, social support, optimism and pessimism, gender and culture. So first and foremost, we need to have an idea that moderators play an important role in the relationship between stress and corresponding reactions. These moderators may lead to individuals experiencing higher or lower stress. These factors serve as moderators in controlling the stress level. Which are these factors? Locus of control, hardiness, social support, optimism, pessimism, gender and culture. Firstly, let's have a quick overview of locus of control. This concept was proposed in the year 1954 by Rota. It can be explained as the belief system posed by an individual with regard to whether the outcome of action can be attributed to the person's own action or to events, objects or people outside the person's control. It is possible for the individuals to have an internal control orientation or an external control orientation. Here, relationship has been seen between the locus of control and stress, and it was found that individuals with internal locus of control displayed better physical and psychological well-being. Individuals with internal locus of control perceive stressful situations as a challenge and not as a threat, and they are in a position to deal with stress in a better way. So it is important to have internal locus of control. If they are having external locus of control, they will be having trouble with such a threatful situation and they will experience more stress. But if they have an internal locus of control, that would be of great help. So that can serve as a moderator of stress. Now, hardiness can be described as denoting a lightness for challenges, having a strong sense of commitment and control. Very often we might see people who are actually ready to take up challenges, face the fear kind of attitude. So individuals having high hardiness are optimistic and they see a stressful situation as an opportunity to grow. They grow from being part of such situations. They also put in hard work because they enjoy doing so. So individuals with high hardiness are in a better position to deal with stress. They are ready to endure the stress and they will be able to manage the stress. Alright, now comes social support. This is one of the significant moderators of stress. A person experiencing stress will be able to deal with it in a better way if this particular person has social support. We see that in the various cases presented by the media. If a person who is under a lot of stressful situation has popular support, social support, it is likely for this person to manage the situation, right? Social support can be in form of material gifts, finance, food, etc. It could also be emotional in nature. So more the social support, the more the person can cope up with stress. The next aspect, optimism and pessimism. Optimism can be related to the resilience that helps individuals to bounce back to stressful situation. If a person has good optimism, then he will be likely to deal with the stressful situation, whereas those who are pessimistic would have a tough time while dealing with stress. Gender and culture. Socialization to a great extent may depend on gender and also culture. These can have an impact on the personality, the beliefs and attitude of the individuals. Personality, beliefs and attitudes can have an impact on how individual perceives, deals and cope with stress. You just have to mention that. Alright, so that will also be a moderator to stress. So in this particular unit, we studied the various factors contributing to stress proneness, namely type A personality, hostility, perfectionism, procrastination, learned helplessness or learned pessimism. There are 5 factors in the study material. We also discussed the moderators of stress. Which are the moderators of stress? Namely LOC, locus of control, then hardiness, social support, optimism and pessimism, and gender and culture. So that's all about this topic. We'll deal with Unit 4, where we'll discuss the effect of stress in the upcoming session. Here in this session, we will discuss the effects of stress on health, effect of stress on performance and productivity, effect of stress on relationship.